Okay, so hello, what's going on? I've got some lovely dyed ginger ale. That is the best beverage, fight me. But I sort of want to talk about my desk setup up here. Right now, at least I'm sort of preparing for the crispier, cooler weather outside. And I know we're sort of going into winter time up here in Canada. So when I do these sort of resets, I'm kind of just preparing to hunker down for the winter almost and just have a good spot to sort of unwind and relax. Now, I've talked about this setup up here in my bedroom a couple times in the past. And the main purpose of this desk setup is to more so escape my basement studio. As much as I love my basement studio, it's a little bit dark, it's dim, there's no natural light. I don't get to open my window and get fresh air down there in the basement. And that's where I get all my work done. So that means my day job when I'm working as an accountant, my 9 to 5, I do accounting. And as much as I do enjoy my time gaming downstairs and stuff, often it's just nice to sort of have a bit of an escape for just relaxing and chilling out. And that's what this space is. For myself, that's just going to be chilling, journaling, reading, playing video games, watching shows, and more recently I've been really trying to put a little bit more effort into being in the same room as my wife, as weird as that sounds. If anybody out there is a parent, sometimes you might know how difficult it is to spend time with your partner. So we could just be vibing out doing our own thing as long as we're sort of in the same room. It's just nice. So that's sort of, again, where this setup comes in. And a bit of a refresh here is that I wanted to jump a little bit more into competitive gaming recently. I was talking about that in my last video. So I've got a beast of a monitor. And if you've watched my channel at all in the past, it's no surprise, I'm a huge gamer. So I love my PC gaming, I love my console gaming, doesn't matter what it is, as long as I'm gaming. It's my favorite way to decompress after a long day. So with that, over the next couple months, I'm gonna be a lot more into my competitive FPS games on my PC. I'm trying to decide between Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. I've done Overwatch in the past. I've hit top 500 a couple times, mostly Grandmasters, if anything. But I think I might try Marvel Rivals this time around. If anybody plays those games, let me know which one you think I should be sort of jumping a little bit headfirst into. Now with that, you might notice my desk is kind of bare. I didn't have mouse, keyboard, headset, or any of the sort of accessories I'll typically have in my desk setup because I got a couple goodies from some companies. So let me just get it real quick. So I've got two packages here. One is from Grovemade, one is from Sony. I've mentioned in the past, I'm a bit of a Sony fanboy. Their esports lineup is absolutely incredible. So they sent out some stuff here to sort of help drive this setup a little bit more when it comes down to my competitive gaming. And I've been using their 480 hertz OLED monitor for months at this point when it comes down to any FPS games. So this has been my go-to for that. And there's some more stuff in here which I'm going to get into. Mind you, none of this is sponsored. I'm just grateful to work with some of these companies. So they send a couple goodies out every now and then. And some people might know Grovemade. They're one of my favorite desk setup accessory crafters. They make really high quality sort of wood stuff. And pretty much all my desk setups always have sort of, you know, desk shelf or desk mat or something. And those are the sort of things they make. So I got some stuff in here to sort of elevate this setup a little bit more. Again, none of this is sponsored. So this is just me resetting my desk setup. So I'm going to unbox these, throw some stuff into the setup, talk about what's in my desk setup today, and probably hop into some gaming later this evening and sort of just vibe out a bit. And tomorrow I'll dive more in depth into each of the items in my desk setup and why I use them and why I might love them or hate them. We'll see. So yeah, thank you for hanging out. I'm gonna get these unboxed and set up and we'll go from there.
What good are we if just flesh and blood? In this world, it's so cruel. You think you won the game and they've gone and changed the rules. Maybe I'm just a fool.
So I had a good amount of time gaming, chilling out, relaxing last night in the desk setup after the reset. Excellent setup. this pretty much has everything I need, and it really is a good time. Now, the first thing I sort of want to talk about in this desk setup is probably what I might fanboy the most out of everything in this setup, and that's probably going to be my Xbox Series X. Now, the Xbox Series X truly needs no introduction. It really is one of the best pieces of tech of all time, in my opinion, and I still fanboy over this thing even 5 years after its launch, and it does hold up incredibly well, even today. Now, I'm sort of going to talk more about my FPS gaming and, sort of pushing it with my whole esports setup, but even beyond that, I love gaming entirely, whether it's going to be on PC or console. I'm not sure what the hate is on consoles in general, but for myself, I absolutely love them, and the Xbox Series X does give me, as an entire package, an incredible experience. And of course, as much as I love my FPS games and PC gaming in general, PCs are objectively better than console. There's no denying that, but I do have a bit of a soft spot for consoles because it personally allows me to decompress a little bit more. Since I do work a desk job during the daytime, sometimes it's nice to just pick up a controller instead of another mouse and keyboard. In this case, I love my Xbox Series X. Now that said, I'll talk more about the monitor, but this is 1440p. So the fact that the Xbox can push 4K, it is a little bit wasted in this setup a little bit, but still, I'm perfectly fine with 1440p gaming at 120 Hz, and the Xbox still pushes that out incredibly well. Now, I've said it in the past, and I'll say it 1,000 more times, I think Game Pass is probably one of the best values in gaming, bar none. Just the amount of games that you get in general. Their library is actually good. And for me, I think it comes down to the day one releases. I just downloaded Silksong last night. Haven't played it yet, but I have it now. And whenever my buddies and stuff, we play games, it's typically going to be on Xbox for myself because there's things like Discord integration, all the apps I could ever want. Now, Game Pass can be pretty pricey. For myself, it's like, I don't know, what, 25 bucks a month. But the best part is I can, pay for 1 month and then cancel it and then sign up again whenever I want. So yeah, I really love Game Pass on the Xbox, and that sort of transfers into PC and cloud streaming and stuff for anybody who might want to do that. They actually have done a pretty good job with that. Just in the general sense, the gaming experience is awesome, even at 1440p. It's just chill. I get my auto latency, variable refresh rate, all those PC features I typically want while gaming, I have it in the Xbox, so it does a damn good job. Now with that, to talk more about the monitor itself, this is the Sony Inzone M10S, and I've been using this thing for maybe 10 or 11 months now when it comes down to anything sort of FPS or esports related. Even if I'm not trying hard, this has been my go-to. The spec sheet on this monitor is actually absurd, and it's only half the reason why I actually love this monitor. Of course, there's 480 Hz, 1440p, it's a WOLED panel, so everything on here looks incredible, but what I love almost equally as much is the fact that it's probably the most minimal, cleanest monitor I own, and the stand on here has the most absurd amounts of adjustment because I guess it's geared towards esports players, but for myself, I still have a huge amount of value in that personally. But of course, the main thing is that this is an OLED panel, so everything on here is going to look incredible, whether that's media, gaming, even just doing normal web browsing and stuff. I'll talk more about my Mac Mini, but I edit on here as well, and everything looks excellent. So they did a really good job with the panel itself. Not to mention that 480 Hz. Again, I'm definitely not a pro gamer, but this is a monitor that actual professionals use, and it definitely shines in its performance. Again, just in terms of the actual sheer performance and fidelity, typically you get 480 Hz or high refresh displays are going to be like 1080p. This is 1440p, so you get a little bit extra fidelity and clarity when you are playing. And again, with OLED, you're going to get instant response times. And overall, it's just a good package when it comes down to FPS and esports titles. Now, naturally, I play other games on here, and those are all going to look incredible. It has a good level of HDR, and I don't really have much to complain about this thing. The only thing probably is the fact that it's 1440p is quite a bit more demanding if you do want to push those extra pixels, especially compared to 1080p, of course. But yeah, even when I'm not gaming and stuff, watching shows on here, vibing out, monitor does an excellent job. Now, of course, being that it's 1440p, you probably need a beastly PC to drive that, especially if you're trying to get anywhere close to 480 Hz, and that's where sort of my PC comes in. In my case, I might have the most normie PC on this planet, being that it's an Alienware pre-built PC, but I got literally the best possible deal I think I've ever seen in terms of a PC. I got this thing for about $2,000, which is less than the MSRP of a 4090, and this thing has a 4090 in the whole shebang inside of it. So I think Best Buy must have mislabeled it or something. So yeah, well, I typically build out my PCs. This entire setup for $2,000 is literally unbeatable. So they must have made a mistake. Hopefully nobody got fired. That said, RTX 4090, Intel i9, 32 gigs of RAM, and everything else I'd need for gaming. This thing absolutely crushes pretty much any game I've thrown at it. One of the main downsides is that it's not really as easily upgradable. This does have a proprietary motherboard from Alienware, which is pretty wacky, but every single game I've thrown at it has been absolutely incredible, whether that's going to be my FPS esports titles and jumping into more chill games like Cyberpunk, Red Dead Redemption, Diablo 4, whatever the case may be. My gaming PC handles anything and everything pretty much. Now, separately from that, I don't do any creative work on my PC. I do use Mac in that sense. In my basement setup, I have been using Apple Mac Studio, which is an pretty much a forever machine. Honestly, it's just so powerful, it's almost insulting. But the base model M4 Mac Mini, I think, is literally the best value when it comes down to computing, especially if you're a professional or a creator. They made some really solid upgrades, not just with the M4 chip, but they did make this sort of base 16 gigabytes of RAM, which actually changes a lot when it comes down to any sort of professional work. In this case, when it comes down to the video you're watching, I edited this entire thing on that machine, and it's easy to say this thing holds up incredibly well when it comes down to any sort of creative work. I will say the base model kind of sucks, being that it's only 256 gigs, but it's nothing some external storage can't solve, which is something that I do anyways when I transfer around some of my projects. I think for the price point, that is a bit of a valid trade-off. And one thing I can mention about the Mac Mini is that this setup doesn't have a set of speakers, and there is a built-in speaker in the Mac Mini. It's better than I remember it being. Just a quick little note on that. So yeah, between my main systems and stuff, my Mac Mini, my Xbox, my RTX PC, and of course the M10s monitor, those are the sort of meat of this entire setup. But I also want to sort of talk about the accessories I've been using. Okay, so I want to talk about the accessories more, particularly the Sony stuff that I unboxed yesterday. I had a good time with it. I sort of mentioned it earlier. I am a bit of a Sony fanboy because I fell in love with that monitor. I've been using it for, I don't know, 10 months now. And the reason why I dig their stuff is because they're not too try hard, if that makes sense. Typically when you see some, I guess, brands do collaborations with esports teams, it's a little bit cringy. Like they just slap their name on it, or vice versa. They just sticker their names on each other's products and whatever the heck it is, but the product isn't any sort of different. Now, from what I've discovered in their lineup is that they actually work with, I guess, pro gamers. Again, I'm not a professional myself, but they work closely with these people to actually build the products from the ground up. So I appreciate that, and it sort of shows in the product. Now, the first one I want to talk about, which is probably my favorite of the bunch of accessories, is the H9 II headset. I'm coming from these Sony H3s, which I've been using for 3 or 4 years at this point. It's old, dilapidated, and for the most part, it's kicking the bucket, but those have been my go-to headset for the longest while. So this is a massive upgrade. Now, the reason why I love the H9 so much is because I've been using the Sony XM6s for quite a long time now, and they have the same drivers. So the audio quality is absolutely phenomenal. But it sort of also bleeds into the gaming features. The headset itself is super light. It doesn't make me, sweat or get too hot. And the connectivity options are great. And then there's a detachable mic, which actually sounds good. And like my XM6s, there's active noise cancellation and all that fun stuff. Now in this case, I connected with a 2.4 gigahertz dongle to my PC, Bluetooth to my Mac Mini, and then I use a 3.5 millimeter jack to my Xbox when I'm playing console. And so far, I've had a good time with the headset. And for myself, it's just a mixture of the actual audio quality and having the small things like a detachable mic. Super appreciate that. The second thing I sort of want to talk about is probably my second favorite of the mix, and that's going to be the keyboard, which is the KBD H75 or something. I'll put it here, but similar again to the headset and monitor, it's geared more towards esports. So this is going to have magnetic switches or Hall effect switches. The switches are sort of going to be similar to magnetic in terms of the sound and stuff, but they do have a little extra features. In this case, with the keys, you can change the actuation point, which is big for some players. For myself, again, I'm not going to try hard so much that I'm going to change this, but I really do appreciate the options in terms of the keyboard itself. It's built incredibly well. This thing's like pretty much a weapon. It feels like it's machined out of a block of aluminum. I'm not sure how much of this thing's aluminum, but it's very well built. And something small that I really appreciate is the volume knob on the keyboard itself. Now, I'm one of those weirdos that places a huge amount of value in the look and aesthetic of my tech, and similar to the headset, similar to the mouse and everything else in terms of the keyboard, it's gonna be midnight, blacked out, looks super minimal. I'm not big on the whole gamer aesthetic, so I don't really care for rainbow RGB and stuff. It's there if you want it, but I think I'm just gonna select a solid color and be done with it. And so far, having played games last night for the first time on this keyboard, it's worked incredibly well. Now, similar to my dilapidated headset, I did need a solid mouse upgrade. I was using this crusty Red Dragon from like literally 10 years ago, which I used to use for MMOs and stuff. So this is a huge upgrade. This is the Inzone Mouse Type A. Now, this thing is incredibly light. For myself, I don't think I've ever reviewed a mouse, but I do appreciate when they perform well. In this case, this goes up to like 30,000 DPI. Not that I ever really use all of that. I usually play around 1600 DPI, but so far in my experience, it's worked incredibly well. The clicks are also optical switches, so it's gonna be less likely to sort of have double clicks and such. So I definitely appreciate that in terms of longevity. The battery is gonna last long as hell. There's no sort of fancy RGBs on here, which I prefer again, and it's super lightweight. Now, I don't really use a mouse pad either. I just use my wool desk mat. Probably not the best thing to use when it comes down to competitive gaming, but in my experience so far, it's been great, and I appreciate the upgrade. Now, to sort of round out some of the other stuff in my setup, I want to start by talking about some of the Grovemade items. In this case, again, I did get this little pencil set. Grovemade is expensive as hell. I'll start by saying that. but they make some of the best quality products at all, bar none, straight up. All of my setups typically have something Grovemade similar to Sony. I am a bit of a fanboy. They just make damn good stuff, and it sort of shows in the quality. It's gonna last a long time, but it is very pricey. Now in this case, that pencil set is huge for me because I love journaling. I typically always have some sort of notepad or setup for journaling. It's just something I like to do at the beginning of my day, the end of my day, whatever the case may be. I just write a couple jot notes and be done with it, but I do love my journaling, so a solid pencil set definitely takes me a long way. Separately from that is this sort of metal cork tray where I can put all my knickknacks. I got some pens and cables, my headset mic when I detach it. It goes in here, a spare battery, and this is just good for, you know, keeping organized with all the little knickknacks somebody might have in their desk setup. And I just slot that directly into my desk shelf. So desk shelves are huge for myself as well. It does add a good level of verticality to a desk setup. It helps keep things a little bit more organized. Again, I have a notebook here, a keyboard in here, you just slide it under here, and it helps keep things a little bit more clean as well. And I just appreciate the aesthetic of having a desk shelf. It's pretty rare that I won't have one in any of my setups. Now separately too, again, I do have this wool desk mat. I'm not using a mouse pad like I should while esports, gaming, and all that fun stuff, but I just like having something with a natural material. The wool desk mats have always been one of my favorite things, and it just sort of breaks up the aesthetic of my desktop, which I appreciate. But yeah, expensive as hell, Grovemade is excellent. Second to last is probably just going to be my Lightbar up here. This one's from Xiaomi. It's pretty affordable. It's nothing crazy, but I got this little puck here where I can sort of change the brightness and the light temperature, and it just slots on top. It's not the most expensive thing, but I think it's one of those things that's good for adding a little bit of character and light to your setup. As much as I'm blasted with natural light during the daytime, in the evenings, I don't have any lamps or anything in here. This is technically my bedside table. So whenever I'm reading my book and stuff, this is my light. And then I sort of just turn it on and off with a tap of the button here. Nothing crazy, but it's one of those things that I can't really go without in this setup. For the desk, I don't even know what model this is. I know it's from Flexi Spot. It's a sit stand desk. My watch pings me every hour or so to stand up, and I'm trying to, you know, do that a little bit more. And I'd be lying if I said I always put this into standing mode. I don't always do that, but it's still nice to have for the times I do want to work or game while standing up. I think I'll be doing that a little bit more come the winter time, since I won't be getting as much standing and step time in. But yeah, it's a solid desk. I don't really have much to say about it. There's a little drawer attachment here, which I appreciate for all the larger items that can't really fit in my desk shelf. And it's an overall solid desk. So yeah, that pretty much rounds out everything that's in this desk setup. I just wanted to sort of talk about having a bit of a desk reset. Again, every fall, spring, I love to just give it a good little clean. You can add stuff to it, take things out if you want to sort of make your space a little bit more minimal. This isn't the most minimal desk setup ever, but it does have everything I need, and it's organized is the best way I can put it. And again, in this space here, this is where I love to just get more natural light, a smooth breeze from my window, especially during the fall time. And again, for any parents out there, you know, sometimes you need to have your own little space to sort of escape, even if you and your partner are doing something separately, entirely from each other. My wife will be vibing out, playing Switch, reading, and I'll be playing some games. As long as we're in the same room, I'm happy. And that's sort of what this desk setup is. But yeah, that's everything. I will have everything linked down below. Again, not sponsored by Sony, not sponsored by Grovemade. I'm just grateful to work with some really cool brands that makes some dope stuff. And I will have everything linked down below if you do want to check any of it out. If you have any questions, lay it on me. I appreciate you guys watching till the end. Till next time.